So Tushar, I actually asked you to write the summary for last week's class and I didn't get response. What does it mean? Did you hear? Did you forget? Did you not care
I
about
thought
it?
I
What
had
is it
sent it
mean?
earlier, but I didn't, so I sent it before class.
Oh, you did in the group?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So let's move on to verse number 23 and 24. Can somebody share the screen? Thank you. Someone, you please remind me, we need to upload the recordings for these verses.
Sure, Auntie.
Okay. So today's verse 23. Sanvi, repeat after me. यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
जातकर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
जातकर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः
मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
जातकर्मण्यतान्द्रितः
जातु कर्मण्यतान्द्रितः
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः
मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
जातु कर्मण्यतान्द्रितः
जातु कर्माण्यतान्द्रितः
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः
मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
जातु कर्माण्यतान्द्रितः
जातु कर्माण्यतान्द्रितः
Is it atandritah? Is it atandritah? Why are we saying atandritah? Jatu karmanyatandritah.
जातु कर्माण्यतन्द्रितः मम
जातु
वर्तमा-
कर्माण्यतन्द्रितः
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः
मनुष्यः पार्थ सर्वशः यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
जातु कर्माण्यतान्द्रितः
जातकर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मनुष्यः पार्थ सर्वशः
मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
जातुकर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः
मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
मम मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः
मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
जातुकर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः
मनुष्यः पार्थ सर्वशः यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
यदि ह्यहं न वर्तेयं
अतन्द्रितः
जातु कर्मण्यतन्द्रितः
मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते
Mama Vartamano Vartante
Manushyaha Partha Sarvashaha
Manushya Partha Sarvashaha Yadi Hyaham Navarteyam
Yadi hyaham na varteyam
Yatu Karmani Atandritaha
jatu karmanyatandritaha
Mama Vartmano Vartante
mama vartmanuvartante
Manushya Partha Sarvashaha
manusya partha sarvashaha yadi hyaham na varteyam.
Is everyone done? Yadi hyaham navarteyam
Jatu karmanyatandritaha
jatu karmanyatandritaha
mama vartmanuvartante
mama vartamanu
manusya partha sarvashaha.
Vishya Partha Sarvashaha. Translation by His Divine Grace S. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. What is Prabhupada saying? Sorry, what is Lord Krishna saying as translated by Srila Prabhupada? So Krishna talked about how he himself follows the prescribed duties, though he is not needed to, right? Just because he wanted to role model and exemplify to the common man. And he's also saying that for if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. So Krishna is talking about how he does not have to perform any prescribed duties because he's not bound by this material nature, unlike we. We all are bound by the material nature, and therefore, for us to graduate from this material nature, which is to get liberated or be in that consciousness where we are always connected or united with Supreme, we have to perform the prescribed duties. Just like when we enroll in school or in college, there are certain rules and regulations that we all need to perform, like do the prerequisites, we have to take certain courses, we have to be on time to certain classes, we have to follow certain disciplines, get certain grade. So all those rules we have to follow, and then only we are graduating. But the person who has created the syllabus or who has created the coursework, they don't have to go through the coursework or they don't have to follow the other rules and regulations of the university system or the college system, but still they also follow so that they can motivate or be role model to us, though they are not bound by the college rules, like the principal or the what you call the president of the university. They're not really bound, but they still follow certain rules and regulations, right? Why? Just to become role models. They said parents also, when they teach their children certain habits, except for example, when you're learning to ride a bicycle, when the child is very small, 3-4 years, or I don't know how young, maybe 4-5 years, when the child is riding the bicycle, the parent wants the child to wear what you call the helmet, the knee pads, elbow pads, and everything. And while the child is riding with all those things, and if the child doesn't see the parent wearing those, a parent doesn't need knee pads, elbow pads while riding in the neighborhood. It's not unsafe for the parent because the parent has mastered the skill of driving a bicycle, right? But still, to be able to inspire the child and to make the child wear that gear, the parent also puts it on, correct? Puts all that, the helmet and knee pads and the elbow pads. It's not really needed for the parent. I mean, not needed meaning, I'm not saying the parent should not wear a helmet when they're riding bicycle on the road, when the unsafe places, where unpredictable traffic is there. But in the neighborhood, where everything is in control, where there's not traffic, the parent knows the road, the geography of the road and all, the parent really doesn't need, because they're in control of everything. But still, to teach the child, they put on those things so that the child will follow the parent. Similarly, when Krishna came, he said, if he failed to engage in carefully performing his prescribed duties, then what will happen? All men would follow his path. That's why, as I discussed, I think we gave that homework, right? To what are the names of the 8 principal wives of Lord Krishna? Did we research on that? Anyone? Yeah, Preeti?
So when I did some research, I got Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati, Kalindi, Mitravinda, Bhadra, Lakshmana, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the name of the last one, but it's spelled Nagnajiti. How do you pronounce that, Auntie?
Nagha. Can you say that again? Naga.
No, Nagnajiti.
Hold on 1 second.
I think it's like Nagnajiti.
Oh, Nagnajiti. Yeah.
Okay, those are the 8 I got.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So when Lord Krishna had 16,108 wives, how he conducted himself like an ordinary human being, doing all the duties that each one of us has to be performing, right? Like waking up in the morning, performing those rituals, like doing the Surya puja, all those things, oblations to the sun god and all the demigods and whatever rituals are prescribed. Lord Krishna also would do that just so that we all also, when we read his pastimes and when we read his how he spent, then we should be inspired. Oh, Lord Krishna himself did that, which means I have to follow too, which means he's role modeling for my proper living. So that's the inspiration that we have to seek from the lifestyle of Lord Krishna. And Krishna is saying here also that he also took care in carefully performing his prescribed duties so that we all follow his path. Now, if you read at the translation purport given by Prabhupada, if you can go to Veda base Samanyu and go to this chapter verse purport, we'll read the purport to Prabhupada gives some nice purport, small purport, which will help us understand this much better. Okay. In order to keep the balance of social tranquility for progress in spiritual life, there are traditional family usages meant for every civilized man. Although such rules and regulations are for the conditioned souls and not Lord Krishna, because he descended to establish the principles of religion, he followed the prescribed rules. Otherwise, common men would follow in his footsteps because he is the greatest authority. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that Lord Krishna was performing all the religious duties at home and out of home as required of a householder. So that's the purpose. So basically, those Vedic rules and regulations that Krishna has been talking so far before these last 3-4 verses are not meant for Krishna at all. He doesn't have to do all that. But still, he followed them so that we can get inspired and we don't so that we get inspired and we do them instead of avoiding them. Okay, let's go to the next. Any questions here?
And Krishna's reason for coming to this, for descending, was to establish righteousness, right? So
Yep. So therefore, by himself living in that, whenever he sees that there is decline in religiosity and whenever people are derailing from these righteous values and principles, then Krishna comes himself and then he first destroys or he eradicates all the evil which are beyond the control of listening with ordinary actions. Therefore, he destroys dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge. So he destroys the evil, and then for ordinary people or for his devotees or for people who are not demoniac, he himself leads a life based off of these rules and regulations so that we get inspired. Yeah, that's what he says in the next verse, where he says, if he does not perform his prescribed duties, all the worlds will be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would therefore thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. That's what he says in the next verse, and that's where we are going to get to. Any other points? Okay, now let's move on to the next verse. Char will repeat after me. Utsideyurime loka
Utsiteyurime loka
nakuryam karma chedaham
nakuryam karma chedaham
Sankarasya cha kartasyam.
Sankarasya kartasyam.
Sankarasya cha kartasyam.
Sankarasya cha kartasyam.
Upahanyami ma prajaha.
Upahanyam ima prajaha. Utsideyorima ime loka.
Utsideyurime loka.
Na kuryam karma chedaham.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya cha kartasyam.
Shankarasya cha kartasham.
Apahanyam ima prajaha.
Upahanyam ima praja. Utsideyurime loka.
Utsideyur loka.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Shankarasya cha kartasham.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Upahanyam ima praja.
Upahanyam ima prajaha. Utsideyur loka.
Utsideyurime loka.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Upahanyam ima prajaha.
Upahanyam imam prajaha. Utsideyurime loka.
Utsideyurime loka.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Upahanyam ima prajaha.
Upahanyami ma prajaha. Utsideyurime loka. Utsideyurime loka. Nakuryam karma chedaham. Nakuryam karma chedaham. Sankarasya chakartasyam. Sankarasya chakartasyam. Upahanyam ima prajaha. Upahanyam ima prajaha. Utsideyurime loka.
Utsideyurime loka.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Shankarasya chakartasham.
Upahanyam ima prajaha.
Upahanyam ima prajaha. Utsideyurime loka.
Utsedeyurime loka.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Shankarasya chakartashyam.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Upahanyam ima prajaha.
Upahanyam ima prajaha. Utsideyur ime loka.
Utsideyurime loka.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Upahanyam ima prajaha.
Upahanyam ima prajaha. Utsideyurime loka.
Utsideyur loka.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Upahanyam ima praja.
Upahanyam ima prajaha. Utsideyur loka.
Utsideyurime loka.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Nakuryam karma chedaham.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Sankarasya chakartasyam.
Upahanyam ima prajaha.
Upahanyami ma prajaha. Translation: If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. So Krishna is telling the importance of following the rules and regulations, because when rules and regulations are not followed, what happens? It creates disturbance in the society. There is no peace. Therefore, peace is obtained only when we follow the rules and regulations as prescribed by Lord Krishna. And when there is no following of rules and regulations, Krishna himself is saying that there is no peace. And peace, a disturbance is caused in the society by that unwanted population. That population. What do you mean? What does Krishna mean by unwanted population? Unwanted population is that population which disturbs the normal living of the human beings who are working toward the goal of graduating from this material world. Right? So just like if in the college you have students who are drinking and smoking and causing disturbance to the regular students who are trying to work hard and study well in good grades, but these students are distracting them by constantly inviting them or doing some things which distract the studious or focused students. Then what happens? The studious and the focused students also lose their purpose and goal, and they start getting distracted. Therefore, such distracting elements have to be destroyed or should not be created. And for such distracting elements not be created, there should be some role models. And Krishna himself is taking that role modeling responsibility. And he says, when I came down or when I appear, I myself follow these prescribed duties, though I'm not needed to. He doesn't have to. Because rules and regulations are for us to get fixed, to fix our negative, to fix or to remove the anarthas in us. But Krishna doesn't even have those anarthas. He's not under the three modes of material nature. Then why does he even have to follow the rules and regulations? But still he follows so that we get inspired and we follow in his footsteps and purify and rectify ourselves. He wants to motivate. He wants us to keep us on track. He wants us not to get derailed. So it's very important. The fact that Krishna himself is following rules and regulations makes us now strongly, it gives a strong conviction to all of us that we have to follow, because if Krishna is following and if we don't follow, it means we are being really mean to ourselves. We are being destructive to our own selves. So importance of prescribed duties is being portrayed in the fact that Krishna himself is taking upon that responsibility to be a role model. If you look at the purport, if you go to purport, there's a difference between following Krishna's footsteps and imitating Krishna's footsteps. So here, Prabhupada is saying, Varna Sankara is unwanted population which disturbs the peace of the general society. In order to check this social disturbance, there are prescribed rules and regulations by which the population can automatically become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. Let's take the example of traffic system, right? The traffic system has a certain rules and regulations. Like you have stop sign, you have the lights, red light, green light, yellow light, and you have different rules. I'm sure most of you are now learning or have been new drivers on the road. So you must be really familiar with every rule, because you have to even pass the driving test, right? The written test and then also the driving test. So you all know the rules and regulations, and you know why they are in place. Because if there are people who do not know these rules and regulations, and if they don't follow these rules and regulations despite knowing them, what happens? There is disturbance in the traffic system. Suppose you're traveling on Peachtree Parkway, and if there is a person who's not following this red light, green light, or yellow light, then what happens? It creates havoc and confusion in the entire traffic, because the people who are trying to follow and they're waiting for the red light to turn to green before they move, but you see this person who is breaking the red light and going, and the other traffic coming from the other side is confused. Now, what do I do? This car is not supposed to come, and it came in. It creates disturbance for the entire traffic system in whichever direction we are going, and it creates havoc, and it also is dangerous, and there could be a halt to the traffic system till everything is put back on track, right? So with that simple example of traffic regulation, we understand how traffic regulation and traffic rules are important for peaceful journey and to reach our destination. For our progress on our path to wherever we want to go, we need some system in place where people are all following rules and regulations. When this system, which is quite clear to me and evident, needs to be having certain guidelines and rules, then how about this entire human system, which has a purpose of progressing on the spiritual path and going toward the ultimate goal, that also needs rules and regulations. And if it is not followed, then it's going to create disturbance in the society. And that's what the second sentence is. In order to check this social disturbance, there are prescribed rules and regulations by which the population can automatically become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. When Lord Krishna descends, naturally he deals with such rules and regulations in order to maintain the prestige and necessity of such important performances. The Lord is the father of all living entities, and if the living entities are misguided, indirectly the responsibility goes to the Lord. Remember, just like when we are teaching, when the parents are teaching how to how to ride a bike, and if they don't wear the helmet and the other necessary protective gear, what happens? If something happens to the child, who's responsible for the child's hurt or a little accident that happens? The parent, right? Similarly, Krishna, like our Supreme Father, he's taking the responsibility of guiding us. Therefore, whenever there is general disregard of regulative principles, the Lord himself descends and corrects the society. That's what we talked about in the previous verse. Krishna comes down whenever he sees that these regulations have been broken. We should, however, note carefully that although we have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord, we still have to remember that we cannot imitate him. So following in the footsteps and imitating somebody are completely different things. Following in the footsteps means you take guidance and work toward the goal with the help of that guidance based on your strengths and weaknesses. But imitating somebody means you have not estimated or evaluated your own strengths and weaknesses, and you're just trying to do what the other person has does exactly the same way, which is different from following in the footsteps. Do you all agree or no? Examples are also given here, beautiful examples. What he says, following and imitating are not on the same level. We cannot imitate the Lord by lifting Govardhana hill as the Lord did in his childhood. Yes or no? Now now Govardhana hill pastime has the purpose of crushing the pride of King Indra. I mean, the Indra, who is the Lord of the demigods. At the same time, Krishna being protective of his devotees, who are Gopas and Gopis and the cows and the calves. So that should be an inspiration to us that, of course, we have to give shelter to the less or the weaker section of the society and not be overpowering them and trying to rule over them like how Indra did. So Krishna is giving us an example or teaching us how to walk his path by being empathetic to the weaker sections of the society, by being kind to every living entity, by not trying to be possessive of the power like how Indra was. Indra was so possessive of his power, and when he saw that the Rajvasis were not offering the prayers that they used to do every year to him, he felt offended because he was so attached to his position. So Krishna is teaching a lesson that we should not be attached to our positions, we should be attached to our virtues. Position always, our virtues, our character takes precedence over anything else. And Krishna is also demonstrating how he took care of his devotees, and therefore we have to be inspired to be his devotee. At the same time, we also should learn from Krishna that we have to be protective of the weaker sections of the society. That is the inspiration we have to seek. But we should not think, oh, I'm going to follow or whatever Krishna did and I'm going to try to lift a Govardhana hill. Is it possible for us? It's not. So that's a beautiful example that Prabhupada is giving here. We cannot imitate Lord, but we can seek inspiration from him as to how to lead a good life. It is impossible for any human being. We have to follow his instruction, but we may not imitate him at any time. Like in Srimad Bhagavatam, it affirms, Naitat samacharat jatu manasapihi anishvaraha vinashyatyacharan maudyat hold on. Yatha rudrobhi jam visham. Ishvaranam vachah satyam tathaiva kvachit tesham yatsvavacho yuktam buddhimam stat samacharet. One should simply follow the instructions of the Lord and his empowered servants. The instructions are all good for us, and any intelligent person will perform them as instructed. However, one should guard against trying to imitate their actions. One should not try to drink the ocean of poison in the imitation of Lord Shiva. Another beautiful example, when that Mantra mountain was churned in the Milky Ocean along with so many auspicious and good things, first thing that came out was venom or poison. And that was so toxic, so dangerous, and so destructive that if it had spilled into the ocean and it had spilled out into the material world, everybody would have died. All living entities would have been killed or died. So what did Lord Shiva do? He came as the protector of the universe, and he wanted to serve the entire living entities. And therefore he said, I'm going to drink the poison, and I want to protect the world. Therefore he comes and drinks the poison. But if we think that we want to imitate Lord Shiva and also go protect the world and drink poison, do you think we will survive? No. The only message here is trying to alleviate the difficulties of other people to the best capacity that I can, not to the capacity that I cannot. So Krishna saw a distressful situation for the living entities. Lord Shiva saw a distressful situation for the living entities, and with his power, he alleviated that situation by taking the poison himself. But the message for us is to get the inspiration from Lord Shiva's role modeling that we have to be trying to do our best in alleviating the situation, but not trying to drink poison like how Lord Shiva did. We should always consider the position of the Ishvaras, or those who can actually control the movements of the sun and the moon, as superior. Without such power, one cannot imitate the Ishvaras, who are super powerful. Lord Shiva drank poison to the extent of swallowing an ocean. But if any common man tries to drink even a fragment of such poison, he will be killed. There are many pseudo devotees of Lord Shiva who want to indulge in smoking marijuana. What is that called? Is it marijuana spelling? Am I pronouncing it right? And similar intoxicating drugs, forgetting that by imitating the acts of Lord Shiva, they're calling death very near. Similarly, there are some pseudo devotees of Lord Krishna who prefer to imitate Lord Krishna in his Rasa Leela or dance of love, forgetting their inability to lift Govardhana hill. It is best, therefore, that one not try to imitate the powerful, but simply follow their instructions. Nor should one try to occupy the posts without qualification. There are so many incarnations of God without the power of the Supreme Godhead. So the message again for us here is, when we hear to Krishna's pastimes about Krishna having 16,108 wives, or he performing so many pastimes with the gopis and all, it's not that, every man can go and have multiple wives and multiple girlfriends and do all that things that Krishna did. It is Lord Krishna's pastimes which have higher and deeper meaning. And without knowing the higher and deeper meaning, we should not even listen to those pastimes or conclude from those pastimes. And even if we have understood the higher and deeper meaning, we can never imitate what Lord Krishna did, because Lord Krishna lifted Govardhan hill. Can we do that? We cannot. Similarly, if Lord Krishna had 16,108 wives, there was a reason why he had so many wives, which is higher spiritual reason. And even when he had them, he could manage them all as casually as no one else. Nobody else on this material earth can do that. So this should not be imitated at all. We should only take the message that from Govardhana pastimes, from the pastime of Lord Shiva drinking the poison, or any other pastimes where we have to see how those incarnations of the Lord are trying to be merciful to the devotees, and how Lord Krishna is pleased when we devotees help each other in that same mood. When we human beings help each other in that same mood of compassion, love, and empathy. That's all, to the extent that we can, but we should not be imitating all the pastimes that Lord Krishna did. That is the difference between following in the footsteps and imitating. Following in the footsteps means seeking inspiration from a great role model and trying to apply in our situations to the strengths and in accordance with our strengths, in accordance to our limitations. We have strengths and limitations, right? We cannot say like, oh, Lata Mangeshkar sings so beautifully. She wakes up early in the morning at 4 a.m. and practices for 2 hours, and that's how she became such a beautiful singer. Now you go and practice for 2 hours. Do you think we can become Lata Mangeshkars? We cannot, because we have our limitations. Lata Mangeshkar has her own strengths. She has been blessed and bestowed with that singing ability. It doesn't mean we don't have our own strengths, but what we have to seek inspiration is if she had done something to harness that power, to put that gift that God has given to the best use by whatever ways she has practiced or whatever discipline she had in her life, we have to imbibe that to bring the best out of us. But we cannot think that we want to practice like how she did and become a best singer like her. That's not possible. We want to be a best version of our own self. And for that, we seek the inspiration from these role models. It's not that I want to be someone else, and that's why I'm seeking this inspiration. No, we want to be our own selves. We want to be our own good selves. We are unique masterpiece versions of our own self, and we want to bring that masterpiece out. There's a masterpiece within us, and we want to bring that out by taking inspiration from all these role models. At the same time, we also have to be role models to others. When we live a life based off of this inspiration that we seek from role models like Krishna and great characters and great men like Janaka that Krishna referred in Bhagavad Gita, then we become inspiration to others. And that's what is Krishna's plan for us, how we ourselves seek inspiration from Krishna and become inspiration to others. That's the completeness of our life. That is the purpose of our life. Seek inspiration from Lord Krishna, make changes in our life, small changes, not at all big changes, and become inspiration to others. And that's what Krishna is trying to do through all these verses. Why do you think he's giving in so detail, so many verses, and finally he says, I also follow these prescribed rules. That means none of us are exempt from prescribed rules. You can stop sharing from it. None of us are exempt from prescribed rules. We all have to follow the prescribed rules and regulations so that we become inspiring to others and role models to others. So that is the summary of today's verses. Any questions, comments, realizations, applications? We have 10 more minutes.
So, like, if I wanted to get good at basketball, right? Like, if I wanted to be,
If you want to what?
if I wanted to become good at basketball, right? And I want to be like LeBron James or someone like that. And I practiced for a long time. I can't be like him, right? Since he has his strengths, like he's very tall.
I mean, I can say that if you practice like him, you won't be, but you do all the things that is in your reach. Again, your strengths are what you can do, and your limitations, as you talked about, not having the height or other physical features that are needed for that particular type of sport. So true, yes, and right. You're right that yes, you have to try whatever he does to become a great player like that. At the same time, there are some shortcomings that we have, but that should not discourage us from doing. Right? It should not discourage, oh, I don't have the height, so I will not follow the discipline that he followed to become a good basketball player. Yeah, because we have to go by our strengths and weakness. Not, as I said, Lata Mangeshkar example I already gave. She's a good singer. And if I try to be a Lata Mangeshkar, how much ever I try, I will not be. So we should also understand our limitations. But at the same time, no one can stop you from doing what you want or from achieving what you want other than your own self. So you have to evaluate what your strengths are, because some people are born with natural talents and natural intelligence to certain areas, and you have to identify those and work in those directions, in that direction, right? However, what is the purpose of me becoming LeBron James, or what is the purpose of me becoming Lata Mangeshkar? What is the reason behind I want to be? I want to be those characters. Do I want to represent that I can be a LeBron James while being a Krishna's devotee? I can be a Lata Mangeshkar while being a Krishna devotee. Yes, that is wonderful. But I want to be LeBron James because I want to be known to the whole world as the best player, as the best singer. And I don't be really Krishna conscious, and I have not really understood the purpose of my life except being the best player in the world, a best singer. Then that becomes incomplete journey, right? You have to come back again. So targeting for those great characters, or trying to be top, is good, but what is the purpose and how much sacrifice does it entails in terms of Krishna consciousness? So these are actually borderline questions which we have to be very careful at this point. For you all have to study well. At the same time, you should not think, oh, I cannot be the topper and get into the best university because I'm not made like that, and Krishna is, I should not try to imitate somebody who got into a good college or who got into the best profession. I should not imitate, therefore I will just do. So these should be used as stepping stones for you to rise high, not to fall down. Remember that all the time. You should be seeking inspiration to rise high and move your position from where you are to a little higher position, but not like to limit yours and think that, to discourage you all to think that, oh, now I don't have the strength, so I will stop endeavoring, because that's what Krishna is saying, or Prabhupada says, not to imitate others. Following footsteps means do bare minimum and just do it. That's not what we're trying to do here. You can see inspiration and you can see also demotivation. Depends upon what you're trying to get from what you're listening. Any other points or questions?
Another example I thought of when you said that, Auntie, was like if someone gets into like a really good program or college, then it doesn't mean, and you want to get in there, that doesn't mean you have to do the exact same classes, extracurriculars, and like exact same essay topics and all that. You just have to get inspiration from them and base it off of your strengths and weaknesses.
Very nice, very nice. A very nice practical example that Sonika is quoting here. That's so true. Yeah, when we are applying to colleges or when we are new in high school and you see that somebody has gone into my dream college and my dream program, and then you see their profile and see, oh, they got this SAT, this ACT score, and they did this sport and this extracurricular, they wrote this essay and all, and you try to imitate them, you will utterly fail. Because that was not meant for you, because the application reader can see through the application that you wrote that you are trying to project yourself of what you are not really. You're not true. Your true yourself is not being projected there, because you are trying to imitate somebody. Rather than that, if you like the program, there is no there's nothing for the program that you have to do only this and you get into the program. They're trying to see your passion for the program and your overall personality. It could be, there are millions of opportunities and millions of things that you could do to prove your passion and to prove yourself to the application reader or to the college of the program. So you have to look at the work ethic of that person, how he or she got there. Work ethic is more important than what they did exactly. Very nice example. I like it. Thank you, Sonika. What else? So how are you all doing with your college? I think 5 or 6 of the people here. I don't know, all of them are present. They'll be moving out to college next year. So have you all made up your mind about the college, or are you all still waiting for the results?
I'm still waiting for a few results, but as of now, most likely Georgia Tech.
Awesome. Okay, good for you. Congratulations.
Thank
I'm
you.
also waiting on some colleges, but also probably Georgia Tech.
Oh, good job. Congratulations, Tushar. So only two of you are here as of now, right? Okay. So I'm happy to be I'll be seeing you all around, or at least you'll be close by, not far off. And maybe you'll come sometimes for Janmashtami festivals, or sometimes because you're in town. Okay, what is the time now? 12:25. Okay, I want to take a break now. I mean, stop the class here today. I have something else coming up. So we'll see you all next Sunday, same place, same time. Thank you all for joining. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Auntie, who should do the write up this week?
Oh, Sanvi, you can do that today.
Okay.
Thank you.